And welcome back to Astral Self Care Sunday. I am Kenya, and I'm excited to be back and talking about the zodiac sign of Leo and what you can do if Leo is your sun sign, your moon sign, or your rising. If Leo is in those three, those are the dominant three, I think that what we have to offer today will give you lots of food for thought. Before we dig in, welcome, welcome. If you are new into this space, yay, yay, put in the comments. Let me know that you're new in the space. And make sure you also like and subscribe, right? And click the bell so you can get notified whenever these videos are released. They're released every Sunday. And so I'm having fun. I see people are watching and liking, and I really, 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 really love that. And I want to continue to do that. I will continue to do that. And if you find this information really valuable, if you find that, wow, okay, I was interesting. That was interesting. Then share it. Share it. Obviously, at the least, like it. And then, of course, I would love to hear your comments. And if you have questions that you want me to address in future episodes or future videos, put it in the comments. The other thing is if you go to the description, if this really inspires you, and let's say, yeah, I know I'm a Leo, but I don't know all the other stuff. Like, what does the other stuff mean? And you want to do a guidance reading. And the thing about a guidance reading, what I do, I don't just spit out a bunch of facts about your birth chart, okay? I don't do that. I guide you. We actually do a coaching session where I hear a little bit more just about who you are, the different challenges, insights, gifts, things that have happened for you. And then we go to the chart. And then I highlight some areas for you, show you some tendencies, some challenges, and I give you and offer you based on your chart ways you can go about shifting things, ways you can go about meeting and working through the challenges. Because it's all very clear when I'm able to look at the chart, at least clear in terms of the ideas or things that you can consider. Now, I'm not telling you what to do, right? I don't do You decide. That's the gift. That's the gift of doing this journey, this human journey, is you get to decide. So all of that, again, if you want to book that, if you look in the description, you'll see how. You can also email me at info@findingyourvoiceafter40.com. The name of my business is Finding Your Voice. So, all right, let's dig in. We're talking about Leo today. My fixed fire Leo people. So, the way that if you're tuning in for the first time, you don't really know what to expect these next 20 so minutes. What I typically do, I keep these videos less than 30 minutes. I give you some common traits, key concepts about the sign. And then I tell you about the high frequency, meaning when the sign is in its thriving mode, the positive energy of that sign, why we love that energy, why we need that energy. Then I talk about the low frequency, and that's a little bit more about, these are the areas that can cause barriers, challenges for that particular sign's energy. It can stagnate them, it can block them. It's kind of the stereotypes sometimes that we hear, the more negative stereotypes. So, again, I don't really look at so much negative or bad. It's not really that. It's to me what's helpful energy and what's not as helpful, or what's productive energy and what's more non-productive energy. And so every sign has it. We have every single sign in us. Where the sign exists in our chart is going to depend on your birth chart, which is why I advise you at a minimum to do one small reading so that you can see, or at a minimum, at least go find your chart online because they're free. Birth chart calculators are free online, but it can be very confusing when you're looking by yourself if you're not familiar. And so that's why someone like myself can help you out. All right. So, Leo. So, I always kind of, before I get into the meat of things, kind of tell my own experience. I do not have Leo in my sun, moon, or rising. Actually, I have no planets for Leo. Now, that doesn't mean that Leo doesn't exist. It actually exists quite strong in my in my life because it's my second house, and the second house is our worth, our value, our beliefs, our assets, how we make our money. And so my Leo energy sits in those spaces. Okay. I just don't have a planet there that activates it or creates challenge and when you don't have a planet in a house, because sometimes you'll see your chart and you'll be like, that house is empty. Am I empty there? Do I not have it? No, it just, this is the way I describe it. The planets are going in different houses because they're creating soul lessons and life lessons in those particular parts of your life. And so I have found that if you don't have a planet there, it's just more, that's probably not where the soul is spending a lot of energy getting giving you lessons. Not to say that there won't be challenges, not to say that there won't be rewards. All of that will be there, but there won't be extra energy given because that's what the planets are doing. They're giving a certain amount of energy depending on the planet in that area. Okay. So, but my father, his sun sign is Leo. I have obviously plenty of friends who have sun signs in Leo. Um, but yeah, Leo is interesting. I think that Leo, I think Leo is best described by telling celebrities, almost every sign is this case, but when you tell a celebrity or a famous person what their the Leos that are famous or celebrities, you really click in quickly about Leo energy because Leo does want to be the spotlight. So celebrity Leos, they just like double. And you will find when you look at different celebrities' charts, I'm always curious to see there's certain placements that there are usually trends. And so what's happening in their Leo? Okay, what's happening in their Leo? What planets do they have? What house does their Leo sit in? And it's usually kind of, there's usually some dominant energy there. The other thing is 10th house, because the 10th house is public and career. That's actually ruled by Capricorn. But let's get into Leo, okay? So again, so Barack Obama is a Leo, and I think that he's probably, to me, a very healthy representation of Leo energy, at least of what we see. Okay, he shines. He has tons of charisma. He's extremely inspiring, but he does it in a way that's not seeking extra attention. It's his presence that's just there, and I think when you he vibrates at a high frequency of Leo. I'd be curious to see kind of degree placements and so forth, but it's I think he's a very healthy representation in that Leo wants to be the spotlight, to inspire, okay, to make your light shine. If a Leo's light is so bright that it's now trying to shut you down or minimize, then to me, there's some misalignment with the Leo energy. Okay. So let's get into some key traits. Those of you, if this is your first time here, I read my notes, I prep for these. So if you see me reading, that's what I'm doing. Okay. So I can stay on task. I was already getting off task. So Leo is the great I will. Okay. I will. And it's dates. So you have a Leo sun sign if you're July 23rd through August 22nd. I have found that some people, because of that 23rd and 22nd, July 23rd, may think, oh, I'm a Cancer. Eh, it always kind of depends on the timing at which you were born that really verifies that. But for the most part, July 23rd through August 22nd. Same thing for August 22nd being a Virgo versus a Leo. But anyway, that's the dates we're going to claim. All right. The symbol for the Leo is the lion. Of course, it's the lion. Fierce, right? Because Leo is ego energy. And I don't mean egotistical, although it can fall in that if it's in a low frequency. I mean ego in the extroverted energy. Okay. Its element is fire. All right. So it's a flame. Its modality, it's fixed. So it's a fixed fire. And that's all of the fixed signs tend to be whatever element they are, whatever energy they are, whatever characteristics, they tend to be intensely that. Okay, because they're fixed. They're not mutable, they're not initiating, they're not dispersing, they're staying right in place. And that's what Leo is. And it's ruled by the sun. Okay, so if you think of what the sun is, what the sun does, it will tell you a lot about Leo energy. It's considered masculine energy because it's fire. So it is a more extroverted. Remember, masculine is not meaning male, masculine is meaning extroverted, external doing. Okay. And all your fire signs are about activity. And it rules the fifth house. So whatever is going on in your fifth house, that's the other big teller of how Leo will play out in your house in your life. And it's funny because so my fifth house, which is ruled by Leo, that's where my sun sign sits, my Scorpio. So that tells when you get really deep in astrology, there's a lot to that. There's a lot of comfort for me being in Leo energy because my sun sits in the fifth house, but I do it with a Scorpio trait, which we haven't gotten to yet, but we will be talking about Scorpio soon and very soon. And Leo is opposite of Aquarius energy. Okay. So, in its high frequency, what's going on with Leo? Well, this is what's beautiful about Leo energy. And I want us to really, those Leos who may be, because I do think that Leo, it can be tricky because Leo's dealing with our confidence and it's dealing with our light and how much we're seen. And so I think when Leos are not in their healthiest and highest, it can feel very daunting because again it's a certain darkness that wants to shine. So in its high energy, Leo is about achievement, very big hearted, very loyal, bold, even boisterous to a certain degree, right? um Brave, very bright, can be extremely charismatic and charming. That's what's like so cool about being around Leos. They're bright, they're jubilant, and they're bold in that. Okay. It's not a meek in that. If it's in a healthy, aligned Leo energy. So that cheerfulness, colorfulness, very, very creative, in its high frequency, confident, demonstrative. Okay. So you're not gonna Leo energy and its healthy high really wants to demonstrate its light, really wants to demonstrate its charisma. It wants to show you its and what it has to be careful is to not fall into its performative state. Okay, because it is the natural performer, but if it becomes performative, meaning there's not a certain level of authenticity behind it, that's when Leo energy can get in trouble. Okay, and can create challenges. Extroverted, expressive, entertaining, funny, fun, enduring. I could go on and on. There's some really generous energies about Leo and its high frequency. And remember, we all have Leo there. So it's about finding where is my Leo in my chart? Where does it sit where it really wants me to shine and give the energy that I just described? The tricky thing is this is when Leo gets in its low. Okay. When it gets in its low. Gets a little tricky when it gets in its low. And I think with so many challenges that happen naturally in life that all kind of can compromise our high jubilant energies, Leos, it becomes even trickier for them because that's so much again of what they need, what they crave. Okay. So when a Leo's energy is not in alignment, when you're not doing the self care, when you're not being the authentic you or doing the things that you actually love or feeling the sense of support that you really feel like you need, then that confidence can come off as arrogance. That inspiration can come off as attention seeking. That bold and leader can become more authoritarian type of energy. That kind of playfulness can kind of get immature or childlike, too much cliquish, okay, or cocky. Um, that kind of really high self esteem can turn into more conceited. That more demonstrative, if I'm not feeling like I really have that ability, I start copycatting, I start mimicking, doing, well, that has it. So let me see if I can do it. Have to be careful with that with Leo energy, right? Because it's wanting that need to shine. And so if you're constantly needing the approval and attention seeking, Now you've gone more into the low frequency side of Leo energy. If you're too heavy into like being overbearing or constantly looking to impress others or becoming easily obnoxious or petty or really opinionated over things, that Leo that can happen to Leo pretty quickly if they're not in alignment. And so I think what can be challenging for those who maybe pick on Leos is you'll see that energy and you'll be like, oh, the thing is Leos can, whereas other energies may not go there so quickly because Leo is needing the high frequency of those things, the positive aspects of those things. If they're not getting the support, if they're not taking care of themselves, in a really healthy, productive way, they will quickly fall in those more low frequency spaces. So that's why I think that, and this happens with all of the signs why you get the kind of bad rap, is because, you know, a lot of times we are not taking care of ourselves fully. We are not fully going inside and determining what we need. And so then our more stagnant, low productive, low frequency energy shows up. Okay. All right. So self care. What can we do to help the Leo so that in fact, I got to move my mic a little bit so I can scroll, so that in fact, they will stay in that high frequency that we love so much about them. Okay. I will say this, and as I was doing my research and wanted to say this right, for Leo, we really have to tailor the self care so that it's in alignment in a way that really celebrates these unique aspects that they have and really boosts the self esteem and really nurture their well being, okay, while embracing this natural charisma that they have. So you're going to find that what I'm going to share is really attempting to get you to tap more into yourself so that that light shines brighter. So creative expression is like critical for Leo energy. If you have Leo in your sun, moon, or your rising and you are not doing something creative or something to express that creativity, please immediately get yourself engaged in something creative because that alone will do so much for Leo energy on a lot of levels. On a lot of levels. So please do that. It can get even more specific into doing your personal styling, experimenting with your wardrobe. Physical activity is always going to help with everybody. But I think for Leo, if you can think of physical activity like dance, yoga, sports, things that really allow you to show your strength and your charisma. Okay, especially like dancing and certain kind of sports because you can really get in there and show your special styling of what makes you uniquely fit for that particular sport. Social interaction. Leo is that extroverted energy, right? It's that masculine energy. It wants to be interacting with others. So it allows them to feel alive, to create themselves, do all of the positive things, be more generous and so forth. Praise and self affirmation. So instead of constantly seeking it from others or manipulating others if you feel like you're not getting it. And I think Leos have to be careful of this because they do need it really badly. And it can be this weird cycle because it's not like they intentionally thinking like, oh, I got to get it. But because subconsciously, energetically, it does need that. It wants to be seen. It needs a fair amount of affirmation. So doing that for yourself, creating a self affirmation practice is really, really important. Doing some type of public speaking or performing that lets you tap again into the creative, but it also showcases your extroverted qualities and your charisma. Obviously, attending arts and cultural events will just further help you embody all of that. Travel and adventure, again, by doing these spontaneous things, it allows you to explore new things, which really create, again, a certain level of cheerfulness and happiness inside. Sunbathing, because it's ruled by the sun. So, outdoor activities, period. I find that people who have Leo in their top three, really their moods and everything is very contingent on what is the weather doing, what's the sun doing, particularly. Learning something new, because learning something new, it excites you and it also allows you to foster and focus a little bit more on your personal growth as opposed to looking to others and seeing what they're doing and trying to copycat or become that to think that that's what's going to get your growth. Mm-mm. go ahead and just go learn something new yourself, because then you can affirm it within. Volunteering and charitable work, because of that generous nature, because of that loyalty that you have, and because of that inspiration that you naturally have. And that's another way to feel affirmed, by doing those activities. This is going to be a hard one that I'm about to say, because Leo wants to have that interaction, but solo time. Solo time is really important, so that you are being more self reflective, and so that you can better understand when you may be coming too needy in an area, when you may be too attention seeking another area. By creating some space for that solo time, it allows all of us, it allows us to reflect, right? For Leos in particular, be reflecting more on the self affirmation piece. How am I affirming myself, or what am I doing to feel as though I'm inspiring others? So, really important. And this last one, mindfulness and meditation, goes right along with that. Okay. It goes right along with this ability to kind of settle down and really connect to the inner self. Because Leo has a strong extroverted energy, it's a fixed fire, fixed kind of extroverted energy. Um, Taking the time to be really self reflective is really critical, because you may be very disconnected from that and not aware that things are coming off that way, or that your impact is landing a certain way for people. Because again, no matter what, you're gonna shine. People gonna see you. Okay. So we want Leo energy to be seen in its positive. Okay. So I hope this was helpful. I've had a lot of Leos around me. My father was a Leo. And so I was raised around that energy. And, as I said, my sun sign sits in the fifth house, which is ruled by Leo. So I feel like I've had to do a lot with Leo energy, and learn a lot about Leo energy, so that I could learn a lot about myself. And also, why I may or may not draw that energy, in around me. Okay. All right. Awesomeness. All right. So let's do our question of the day, because we have questions every Sunday. What's our question? What does Venus retrograde mean? So we're going to be kind of talking about retrogrades each month. I'm sorry, each month, each week. Okay. But we're going to go through the different planets. So we talked about Mercury retrograde. So now let's talk about Venus retrograde. Okay. And so I want to read this to you. So we just had Venus retrogrades last much longer than Mercury retrogrades. They last for a few months. Okay. So we just had a really major one this past summer. And so um, let me just read this. Venus retrograde can bring about reevaluation of relationships, love, and beauty aspects of life, prompting introspection and growth. And where was Venus retrograde happening? What months? When was it really primary? Leo season it was. Yes, it was. And so it was a really interesting time. That was kind of the belly of Beyonce's tour. So that reviewing of where's my self-power, right? The women, we were like the Renaissance tour, it just blew up. It blew up because it was Beyonce, but it also blew up because of what that show elicited in others being able to reflect on their own power, their own beauty, their own sense of charisma, and sense of everything, right? And so that Venus retrograde can be a very powerful time, because it is Venus, and Venus deals with relationships. I think that's what can also make Venus retrogrades a little bit challenging. And so, again, depending on where Venus sits in your chart, and then depending on when the Venus retrograde is happening, it happened during Leo season. So, where we needed to kind of look at, where's Venus naturally exists for me? But more than anything, because it was happening during Leo, let me find Leo, because that's where the Venus, remember those transits, that's where Venus is really showing itself up. Okay. So for me, my Leo, again, like I said, worth, value, assets, a lot of reviewing for me of that, and how I look at my worth in terms of how I look at my worth while I'm in relationships, how I look at my worth in terms of beauty. So it was a really powerful time. It was actually really good for me. I loved that time. That's when I decided to get my sister locks. Yep, I know, right? And I didn't even know that's what I was doing, but the soul knew. That's what's so magical about the soul and all of this. So there you go. That's what Venus retrograde means. We will be back again next week where we will be talking about Virgo. Now, Virgo is a very different energy than Leo. Completely, completely different. Some similarities in the low, but different. So if you enjoyed this, if this was informative for you, please make sure you like the video, make sure you share the video, and make sure you put a comment in the box. And more than anything, what's more important of why I'm even doing this is let's work together and find out what all of this really means specifically for you and your birth chart. I'm here for it. If you're not ready, you just want to keep watching these videos, that is fine too. That is fine too. All right. Thank you all. We'll be back next week talking about Virgo. All right. See you guys later. Bye.